works a lot better if I'm on the screen. So I'm a trained professional. Please don't try this at home because apparently it's a heck of a lot harder than it looks. Hey, everybody, how's it going? My name is Zach Clayton, Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care, and the PAC channels. I'm here today, and this is a very, very special day because it is Memorial Day. I want to, Memorial Day weekend, but I really want to sit here and I really want to express my gratitude, my family's gratitude, both my natural family and my business family. And we want to thank everyone who has ever served this country, and especially everyone who has paid the ultimate price. Regardless if you fought during wartime or peacetime, you gave of yourself, and we love you for it. Those who and the families who lost, you guys mean more to us than you'll ever know. Please make sure if there's anything that we can ever do to you, do for you, not do to you, do for you, please let us know. Okay. We also want to take a quick moment to just I just personally, I want to thank everyone in my family who has fought. My grandfathers are both gone. My Uncle Bill, we recently lost. They did not die in action. I've lost them throughout the years, but regardless of how we lost you, your memory is always etched in my mind. All the good times, all the funny times, and all the bad times. Not as many bad times as there could have been. So you all really. As a matter of fact, my grandma. I've got some paperwork that shows the service that my grandmother did as my grandfather was across the sea. So fighting in the Pacific. So a couple things, and this is a document that I was able to get from this website. It is the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. You can pick up your copy all about the origins of Memorial Day. And just real quick, we will be talking with Jamari Jones, one of our brand new silver partners. I'll be introducing him to you guys in just shortly. Quite an interesting conversation that we had. We delve really deep into the personality of this young man, which was great because that's what we want to do. So I encourage you guys all to listen. He's a 20-year-old young man who really, thinks a little bit older, and it's kind of refreshing to see. So please stick around as I introduce him to you, my wonderful friends, and we can start using him. And every time that you use his services, we donate back to causes that you love. The origins of Memorial Day. Memorial Day, 3 years after the Civil War ended, on May 5th, 1868, the head of an organization of Union veterans, the Grand Army of the Republic, or GAR, established Decoration Day as a time for the nation to decorate the graves of the war dead with flowers. Major General John A. Logan declared it should be May 30th. And I love this. I love this fact. Why May 30th? Why did they move it from May 5th to May 30th? Because by May 30th, all the flowers are in bloom. So they moved it, basically a month just to make sure all the flowers were in bloom and we could decorate the soldiers' grave sites. I think that is so neat. The first large observance was held that year, again, 1968, at Arlington National Cemetery across the Potomac River from Washington, D.C. Now, of course, with everything, you're going to have people who say, wait a minute. We started doing stuff like this, prior. And let's be honest here. This is going to be one that's a little bit difficult because you know what? I'm pretty sure that people went and celebrated at grave sites in wars far earlier. I mean, I know that I still go and, we decorate graves on no specific day. When I want to go and talk to my ghosts, I'm going to go and talk to my ghosts. I don't care what day it is. Local springtime tributes. These are local observances claimed to be first. These are local springtime tributes to the Civil War dead already had been held in various places. One of the first occurred in Columbus, Mississippi, April 25th, 1866, when a group of, and I love this story, when a group of women visited a cemetery to decorate graves of Confederate soldiers who had fallen in the Battle of Shiloh. Nearby were the graves of Union soldiers, neglected because they were the enemy. Disturbed, and this is where it gets good, disturbed at the sight of the bare graves, the women placed some of their flowers on those graves as well. Congratulations, ladies. That is that's beautiful. That's truly beautiful. These men were possibly the cause of the loss of your loved one, yet you still cared enough to go to them and remember them. So I love that. Both Macon and Columbus, Georgia, claim the title, as well as Richmond, Virginia. The village of Boatesburg, PA, claims that it began there 2 years earlier. A stone in Carbondale, Illinois cemetery carries the statement that the first Decoration Day ceremony took place there on April 29th, 1866. So just mere days before the May 5th, 1868. So there's been approximately 25 places that have been named in connection with the origin of Memorial Day. 1966, we have the official birthplace declared, and it was President Lyndon Johnson declared Waterloo, New York, which we didn't even talk about. Waterloo, New York, the birthplace of Memorial Day. So maybe it was Memorial Day, not Decoration Day, okay? Because there's when the name, this is the first it mentions the name change. There was a ceremony on May 5th, 1868. So never mind. That honored local veterans who had fought in the Civil War, and businesses. This was the first time businesses closed and residents flew flags half-staff. So that's a little bit of information on why we do what we do, the background of Memorial Day, how it became part of our national landscape. In this, since what they're talking about is a Civil War, I do want to make sure that I publicly say that, we lost men on both sides of the war, and to the families of all who are no longer with us, the original families. Of course, we've got descendants, but this was a difficult time for everyone. So please make sure that you respect the loss of everyone who has lost somebody. Okay, now this is a fairly long interview, so I am proud to bring on a brand new Community Pay It Forward Silver partner. His name is Jamari Jones. young man, very enthusiastic, very smart, and I'm very proud to have him in the program. So, ladies and gentlemen, my interview yesterday with Mr. Jamari Jones. Hey, everybody, Zach Clayton, Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care, and the PAC channels. I'm here with another one of our brand new giving partners, Mr. Jamari Jones from Ascension Hosting. How you doing, Jamari?
Doing pretty good. Fun fact, I actually woke up 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about Ascension Hosting. How did you get started? And you being such a young guy, computers computers have been around your entire life. Guys like, my age, not everybody had a computer at home. So,
Yeah.
back when dirt was humans, there we go with the old man reference. But yeah, so what is it about computers and what is it about hosting that really that created this path that you've started?
So when I was first growing up, it was at that weird time when everything was brand new, right? All technology was kind of brand new. And so there was really no internet or whatever, right? I think with like the best internet out was like probably 2G or whatever. It was like back in 2006 or whatever. Really it was 2G, 3G or whatever, right? And so I would always like to like tinker and mess around with like a computer or whatever, even though, oh my gosh, and yes, I do remember this when you would try to load a web page, it would take a really long time to load or
Yeah.
whatever. And I remember this one day we left the computer on because we were trying to like go on this gaming site or whatever, and we had to leave or whatever. So we had it loading while we left to go off to like this beauty supply, and then came back and it was finally up and loaded. So
Wow.
yeah, that type of technology I've like always loved. And then as I got older, I wanted to figure out how to do more or whatever with technology, like how the phones worked, and how technology can be used to help people actually. So
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I remember when we used to get in the mail these AOL discs, and that you would put in your computer into your disk drive in your computer, and you would have internet for an hour or whatever it was. You'd get like a free hour of internet, and then of course we dial up and all that other stuff that was just horrendous. I didn't use a lot of computers back in that time because thank God I didn't have to. My sons wouldn't allow me to get near the computer because, well, they're smart. So, but why did you pick hosting? Hosting is not something that a lot of people think about, but when you're going to put your website on in a certain place, you really got to be careful where you choose.
yeah, so the reason I got into hosting in specific is because I was also in like the game hosting community, so like hosting GTA servers, Minecraft servers, like just video games or whatever. But then I also noticed that yeah, the web hosting space is extremely competitive, right? Like you have to go up against the big boys or whatever, right? But I noticed that was actually the big issue is that there wasn't actually any small web hosting companies actually helping small businesses or whatever, like where their like entire business model was to help small businesses. And so I created my own web hosting because one, I wanted to create something that was affordable. And then two, I wanted to also create something that didn't have such high renewals. So like when you go into GoDaddy, Bluehost, HostGator, or whatever, when you actually do go through their actual like landing page or whatever, or their special, it's like they're, for example, your domains are actually the free domains actually like a way to get you basically. And the reason why is because they'll charge you like 98 cent or whatever, right, for like the domain. But then the next time it's time to renew that domain, it could be like $20, $30, almost up to $100 just to renew. whatever. And I didn't like that, whatever, because it was basically it was forcing all these small businesses to basically be like, you're either going to go with us, whatever, when we charge you a high renewal, or you're going to go with them, they're going to charge you a high renewal, or you're going to go with them, they're going to charge you a high renewal. And it was really just about making like as much money as possible. I just didn't like it. So
The servers are something else that people don't realize. If you go to, and I'm not gonna name the name because I just don't want to do that. But if you go to one of those, inexpensive startups that you had already mentioned, they put you on the same servers as pornographic stars and
Mhm.
stuff like that. And when Google sees that you're on the same server as them, their little bots and everything say, whoa, watch out for this, this person, which hurts your SEO, and it takes in, and they'll bury you on the fourth or fifth page. Is that correct?
It's partially, you can still rank. It's just they do sometimes put you on those actual servers or whatever. And what's really interesting is that a lot of those actual pornographic sites actually end up getting like malware on it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so if somebody's really like trying to break into one of those sites and they just infest that site with so much malware, it's then going to leak into the actual server or whatever. And if they get into the server, that then gives them access to seeing anybody else that's hosted on that server, which is a huge issue because they're going to go into your website, any like transactions that you have, like your e-commerce store. It's a extremely scary thing. So I have the very biggest distastement for, prawn. So
Yeah. How how many what do you do that is different from the bigger guys? What's one of the reasons people should come to you, Jamari? Because the bigger guys do this, and yeah, they may offer you the first year cheaper, but what advantage do they have coming to you?
so coming to me, the biggest advantage is the fact that, well, one, I'm still a one man show or whatever for now. And so the big thing is I'm never selling this company. That's the big thing. I'm gonna hang on to this company. Um, Not just because of the fact that no one this young is doing a web hosting company, but also because of the fact that a lot of smaller web hosting companies will get bought up or whatever, and they'll just sell all their assets off to somebody else.
Yeah.
And that's usually, how a lot of small businesses go down, basically. And so the biggest thing when choosing me or going with me is that another big thing is my client area. When you're in the client area, I don't track you at all. How most web hosters and most websites do, they actually track you when you're inside of their actual client area. So they're seeing where you're clicking, they're seeing where you're going. I don't see any of that. And so the moment you're in that client area, you're off into your own, like it's like basically living in a gated community or whatever, right? I'm the security guard. I'm seeing who's coming in, but the moment you go in, you go to your house, that's your business.
Yep. It's kind of funny when it comes to this, and I brought this up the other day, and it's a little insight into me. So, parents, hide your children because this is a little weird. But on the weekends, I utilize THC gummies to try to control my headaches. I can do that because it helps my headaches and it helps me sleep. Well, there was one time that I was talking to my then girlfriend, and she's now my wife, but I was talking to her when I was under the influence, and all of a sudden, I started sending her a bunch of pictures of. I came up with this thing, pickled toe puppets, and I kept sending her pictures of funny-looking pickles. And then after that, she would just get pickled on everything she did on her Facebook, on her Google. Every time she opened a computer, there was something about pickles, and she just yelled at me forever about that. So, and then then I started talking to her about Harley Davidson. She kind of opened those up, and she was like going, I'm sick and tired of doing this because every time I open something up, every time you talk to me, I open it up and stuff is there. Um, Is that the kind of thing that you're talking about, that people aren't going to be able to track you as easily because of that?
Yes, it's that, but it's also people that are actually, so for example, when you're on a lot of these websites, the reason why they can track you so well is because they will put things like, yes, I do have ways to, like, for marketing purposes, I do have like pixels and I do have cookies, but that's only on my main site or whatever. And actually, just for security reasons, I'm not gonna say how I secure my like client area, but I secure my client area in a way where it's separate or whatever. And so that way, if something does happen and they attack the main site or whatever, the client area is secure at all times or whatever. And so that's the biggest thing when working with me, as well as like I'm constantly advancing my services or whatever. I'm constantly like improving things, as well as on top of all that. I'm always like working in the background on something big and brand new that can help small businesses or whatever. So like I'm working on a project right now called the Toolbox, and it's going to have all these AI tools. It's going to have like different tech stacks for different types of businesses or whatever, and how they can only use these AI tools for their business. And so it's a
Let
big
me
thing with
let
working
me
on it.
get into that real quick. Oh, AI. Um,
Mhm.
what are some of the benefits of AI, and what are some of the drawbacks?
Okay. So let's start off with the let's start off with the negative or whatever, right? So the drawbacks, the biggest drawbacks is some ChatGPT, for example, it's only trained up until 2021 or whatever. So it's not going to have the most accurate information. Now there is speculation where people are saying that they're putting in information little by little or whatever, which, yeah, I can see that happening because I've gotten ChatGPT to create me a content like calendar, right? But here's the thing: I never told ChatGPT what day it was, but for some odd reason, it automatically started at May 15th and then went May 16th, 2023. And I was like, that's weird. I never told you what day it was or whatever, right? And so another big drawback is the way that they source that data or whatever. And this is going to be a pretty big thing in the future. And so small businesses that are trying to get into AI, they need to be doing it now because like we see what ChatGPT is. Have you used ChatGPT?
I've actually no, I've never used any type of AI.
Okay. ChatGPT is making things 12 times faster. Okay. And now let's talk about the positives or whatever. You can write a blog in seconds or whatever. SEO optimized blog. Okay. You can create a content calendar. You can create rats. And when I say a rat, it's in cybersecurity terms, it's basically a remote access Trojan, meaning you can create malware code within this AI or whatever in seconds. And it's already been happening or whatever. So that's the first thing. Or the third thing, you can also code. So you can make coding projects. I've actually gotten ChatGPT to code a stock trading algorithm that will trade stocks for me or whatever. Now it's still in the works or whatever. So I haven't gotten to test it out in the real field just yet. But these are like big advantages or whatever. You can get it to write you ad copies. You can create it to have you create contracts, email templates, um, newsletters, ebooks, courses, a whole book or whatever. So there's all these drawbacks, so but not drawbacks, but all these positives or whatever that you can do with it. It's great that there's all these positives, but the drawbacks are how they're sourcing the data, okay, what the actual AI is trained up to, and thirdly, how this is going to affect small businesses and how it's actually going to either remove jobs or it's either going to add on to jobs.
That's actually one of the things that really concerns me, Jamari, is that you got, you know, look, if you got a computer that can do all this creation, you don't need the humans to do it. And I also worry a lot about plagiarism. There been any has there been any instances of major plagiarism with AI?
So a little bit there has been like kind of talks, and this is why I said it goes back to the way that they source their data or
Hmm.
whatever, because the AI is being trained based on the data that it was given. And so as more and more people use ChatGPT, it trains it even more. So it does use it a little bit better. But what you do is when you're actually using ChatGPT is only as smart as you. like tell it really. So the prompt that you give it, if this prompt is very short or whatever, it doesn't have a lot of information, you can expect low quality or whatever. But if the prompt is really long, it's very well detailed or whatever, then you'll see a difference in it won't be as like plagiarized, like plagiarism. Basically, it won't have a lot of like the plagiarism checks if you go throw it into like a tool. But then the second thing too, and this is something I've gotten it to do, I've actually gotten Chat GPT when I write the blogs or I write anything in it, I've gotten it to avoid AI detectors. And so you can essentially take ChatGPT to all new heights if you're getting it to effectively avoid these AI detectors.
That's
But
what
it
what
will.
what are those detectors out there for? What are they out there to do? I mean,
They're out there to.
obviously to detect AI, but I mean, what else are why are people trying to detect AI?
There were so a few reasons. In school, when ChatGPT
Yeah.
first came out, a lot of like people, mainly students, which props to the students or whatever, think smarter, not hard, work smarter, not harder, or whatever, right? Because, like I said, if it can write you a blog, it can also write you an essay or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
right? I can tell ChatGPT, hey, I need you to write an essay on Immanuel Kant or whatever, the philosopher. I need you to make sure it's in MLA format or whatever, right? Or college format, and make sure to mention these three things or whatever. And that's all I have to tell it, and it will write that entire essay for me. And I can even also go, make sure to provide links on where you've gotten this information from, or where I
Interesting.
can get this information from. And essentially, you can imagine using this back in college or whatever, right? You don't have to pay your friend anymore to write you that little essay.
You know what's funny is actually I reached out to my son who teaches English to children over in Japan,
Mm,
and I asked him, what are they doing over in Japan to about this whole AI problem? And he goes, Dad, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. They don't really have this problem over there. And then when I kind of explained it, he goes, oh, okay. And he goes, Dad, I work with 5-year-olds. They don't know how to use a fork, let alone use AI. And I'm like, oh,
not
okay.
yet.
Well, yeah. So, all right. All right. Yeah, that's true. But, I mean, and, when you talk about this, I think about the one Comcast commercial where, the kid's sitting there who doesn't want faster AI or faster internet to make your AI do your homework faster. And the guys sit there, go, excuse me, and they're like, so, but yeah, that right there is one thing that does concern me a little bit. Is that I think that we're going to be, I think it's going to affect education in a negative way.
Well,
But the
actually,
truth is, is that what kids who are going to cheat, they're going to cheat. It doesn't matter. It's kind of like, you can take away all the good guns, but the bad guys are still going to have guns, so
exactly.
it's
And so
one of those
actually,
things.
that thing you mentioned there, or whatever, that's going to affect education. Actually, it will do the reverse. Actually, it may actually it's actually going to help education. And because you can also ask ChatGPT to how to learn a language or whatever, teach you how to learn a language or whatever, right? So I could be like, I could go ask ChatGPT, teach me Chinese, but act as if you're Bruce Lee teaching me it or whatever. And it will do that or whatever.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So people have gotten, it's really, really, it's really funny because that's just one AI tool. There's also people that have done the like the face AI and the voice AI or whatever. And so there's people out here running what's called a faceless YouTube channel, right? A YouTube channel where you don't show your face, and they're making a lot of money or whatever. And what they do is they have ChatGPT create the scripts for them, right? In whatever way. Then they take that script and then they go put it into this other voice AI tool, right? That would mimic that person's voice. So let's say we're talking about Michael Jackson or whatever, right? So they'll go in this other AI, upload a little bit of like Michael Jackson's like voice or whatever, and then the AI will be able to create the rest of like him saying other words. Then from those two AIs, they go into another third AI or whatever that will create the video, edit the video, and then now they have a whole video or whatever. And so in the music industry, it's actually like it is, oh my gosh, it is just like running rampant through the music industry or whatever because of the fact that you can now have AI creating music for you or whatever.
I think that, now I want to see, I want to see how it works, and I think I'm going to do like old English script using Arnold Schwarzenegger. I think,
Yeah, it would do that.
have him
It would
talking
do
to me
that.
in old English script. I think that that would be great. Scary, but it'd still be fun. Um,
People,
let's talk a little bit about you. You grew up in Chicago,
mhm.
and you didn't grow up. Well, tell me a little. Tell everybody a little bit about you. Tell people what you're comfortable telling them about the
Yeah.
lessons that you've learned and why you are where you are.
Yeah, so when I was younger, I lived in Chicago for a little while. And I lived there up until I was like about 6, 7, 8, 9, around that age. It was during Obama's like what's it called? Campaign or whatever back in 2008 because he's also from there as well. Um, and so we had ended up moving because one, my mom got tired of the weather, which is granted. When it snows there, it's like you have to go outside, shovel your car out of the snow, turn on your car for 2 hours to let it run or whatever, right? To get like functioning, and then after that or whatever, right? Go back out, get in your car, go to work, and then you have to do the same thing when you're at work or whatever. And so
I still say the coldest 40 degrees I've ever felt in my life was in Chicago, and 40 degrees here in Colorado is shorts and t-shirt weather. So,
yeah, it's also because we have the lake right there, and so
mhm.
all the wind that comes off, like we get that like that lake breeze or whatever, and so it will cool things down for sure
The
or
Windy
whatever.
City.
Yeah, it cools things down like crazy. I still go up there every summer too with a jacket, whatever, just in case. And most 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna be using that jacket. But so we moved down here with our church. And then back in, yeah, 2000, it's when I was in kindergarten or whatever, and I did kindergarten here in Texas. And so we'll go with this church or whatever. But the thing was is that this church kind of turned into a cult almost because the lady was just she used religion in a very negative way. And
Mm.
so she would have people tie her shoes, buy her tampons, pay her rent. And she would always kind of preach like this whole thing about oh, you have to take care of your pastor or whatever. And now me being me, I'm a little kid. I like to say I've been beefing or whatever with adults since I was like in second grade or whatever. And when I say beefing, basically I've been having trouble with adults since I was in second grade or whatever, always challenging them or whatever. Um, and so it was very funny because I remember there was a time when I was we were in the church or whatever, and I was leaving. We were all leaving, getting ready to leave. And the pastor asked me to tie her shoes, and I just looked at her and I said no or whatever. Because I was like you're grown up, so you can tie your own shoes. Like I'm not about to tie your shoes or whatever, right? And I just kind of look at her and I go no. And as I'm walking off, someone goes, oh, how could you how could you say that or whatever? And I was like, what did I do wrong? And then like the lady was just like, you need to tie my shoes. And I was like, no, I don't want to. I don't want to tie your shoes, or whatever. And so then the other lady, her little like henchman, I guess, basically ended up doing it or whatever. And I just ran off. But like it was like I learned from a very young age how people can use different marketing tactics, different belief systems, and just how people can use things to appeal to others or whatever. And then as they appeal to you or whatever, slowly over time, they will kind of leak out little bits of like negative, basically, which then will kind of change your mindset. And it's also how I learned how some people have become, like unfortunately, like there are racists out there, there is, but it's how I've like seen like that's why I don't really judge people that are like extremely racist, like like to the stakes kind of thing, because of the fact that sometimes some people don't understand that one, they grew up in that situation, all right, and then two, over time they've gotten so used to it or whatever, right? Because repetition creates habit or whatever, and bad reputation can create bad habits. And
Yeah.
so that's kind of like at a young age, I kind of learned, and maybe it was like the Lord showing me this, but like I kind of learned exactly like, wow, like this is how, geez, the world's tough out here already. Like I learned pretty young, whatever. I mean, my parents fought a lot or whatever, so I won't get into that part too much. But yeah, they fought a lot, and so like spend a lot of time alone or whatever, which is probably why I make robots or whatever, which is kind of funny. So I make robots like, my mom was always like, you need to go out and make friends. So that's what I did. I went out and I made a robot, and that's what I did there. So yeah, that's how we moved to Texas. Then eventually we did leave that church or whatever, went off on our own. I spent about 2 years with Mormons. Yes, they are the nicest people. That is pretty true. They're pretty nice people. We just couldn't get behind like some dude finding some scrolls in a tree. That was just the only thing we couldn't get behind or whatever, because we just didn't understand it. But like we didn't also shut it down or whatever, because we were still open to it, which is like always the biggest thing to do, is just be open to like the difference and the change. And so spent 2 years with them. So nice, so kind, or whatever. This is like first grade, second grade, kind of. And this is also when like I had like this one trouble with my second grade teacher, because like uh this is also during the Afghanistan war. And so like I remember at that time too, I'd watch a lot of the news. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a little weird for a second grader watching news, Tucker Carlson, Rachel Maddox, all the big figures or whatever. I remember when he used to wear a tie, by like a bow tie, until I think Jerry Seinfeld went on this show and like embarrassed him, and ever since then he's never really worn a bow tie. So that's always kind of funny. Um, and so I remember like kind of like telling my teacher like, "What's the point of us going over there? We're just fighting for oil." And that didn't rub her too right. Okay, she goes, "Oh, they're fighting for your freedom." And at that time, I didn't understand, because one, the issue was very, very complex or whatever. But I think that also kind of challenged me to um, learn more, but also try to understand complex issues, which is why I think I can solve pretty much almost like any complex issue given enough time, because I like that. But another big thing is that the great thing about that teacher, even though we saw different viewpoints or whatever, I mean, me being in second grade, I remember there was a time she actually got upset that I put a Ferris wheel in my project about, because it was during Black History Month. I put a Ferris wheel in my project about Harriet Tubman, and she goes, "That's not accurate. Or whatever, it's not historically accurate." And so me being me, I was like, "Yes, there is. Yes, it is." It was turned into a whole like ordeal, because to be fair, during that time there was a Ferris wheel, but it wasn't until a few years later or whatever. But I understood why later on, why she wanted that, because she wanted to be accurate. And the one big thing about history is that I forgot the guy that says this, but if you don't know history, it's like you're born yesterday, and any government and any person can tell you anything about how history went or whatever. And history is probably the biggest thing for humans as a whole species, for us to learn from our mistakes, our disasters, our inhumane ways, but also at the same time, we can also then learn how to build new technology, right? Go back and looking at new things on how somebody built this said project or whatever, but it didn't work because maybe the technology wasn't there or whatever. And so the one big thing is that I always think about is basically, if you were to die, right? God forbid, or if anybody were to die, right? We can measure how many people die, but we can't measure the knowledge they had. Now, imagine if we could do that, right? And then we went over to a grave. Could you imagine the amount of knowledge that's been gone to waste, basically, that have just passed away
Yeah.
because no one either wanted to learn the trade, either no one wanted to learn it. So it gave me this sense of like, well, damn, like I really need to, like, history is pretty like important or whatever. And so I'm a huge like history guy too. So I know almost about everything. If you point in, I could name almost all the countries on earth, probably.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's really for me. It's important to hear because I myself very very into history, and I am very against this movement that we forget part of history because or reteach history because you can't reteach something that happened. Okay, there are things out there that we don't have to like. There are things out there that I do not like about history. There are things I don't like about what races did, what people did, but you know what? They happened, and they need to be taught because, unfortunately, there are people out there who would like to see some of those things come back. If we don't
Hmm.
learn from history and we let these people bring some of that stuff back, well, that's our fault because we allowed it to happen. So, I really love hearing somebody of your age saying that because, I do, like you, I listen to I listen to books constantly about history. I watch I watch more documentaries than should be. My kids won't come over and watch TV with me because it's always about, something from the past.
Yeah, I think it's important.
Rome.
It's really really important that we do learn this because like for my age group or whatever. Are you familiar with what Tiananmen Square is?
Oh, Tiananmen Square.
Yeah,
Yep.
a lot of people my age don't know what that is,
Hmm.
which is it's very very concerning for me or whatever. I can ask people in my age range, how many genocides do you know of or whatever, right? Most people may not know a lot, but a lot of them can't even name one sometimes, which is really 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 really, really scary or whatever, right?
Hmm.
Like some of them don't even know about the Holocaust. Sometimes they forget about oh yeah, that's right, the thing with Jewish people. I'm like, oh my gosh, like you don't know about that. And so one big fear of mine, I guess, I don't really fear much or whatever except one person. um he's upstairs, by the way. But my biggest thing that I fear is that we're gonna forget the scars of World War II, whatever. Because yes, I get it, it happened 70 years ago. I still think we need to tread lightly when it comes to World War II, just because of the fact that when there's huge military buildup or whatever, right? When there's huge division or whatever, and there's a lot of nationalistic ideals popping up around the world, and like it will literally, like, we're repeating history or whatever. And if you go back and you read in the history books, and yes, sometimes history can be written by the victor, but that doesn't really matter because there's always going to be another perspective, and there's always somebody that has lived through that time period that you can always go ask or whatever, right? Which is probably why I've created a better bond with older people than younger people, because most of the time I usually will ask older people, like, okay, what was it like to live during like this time period, because I know your age or whatever, right? Because me, I'm taking that information and going, okay, I can now layer that information that I'm getting on what I already know about that time period. And now it gives me more like clarity, more context, whatever. Because if we don't do that and we start like going, oh, we're not going to teach this history because it hurts people, well, then it's going to hurt a lot more in the long term when we have like 20 plus years into the future or whatever. And not everybody knows the history, like the complete history. And now we have people talking about like, oh, no, they didn't do that back then or whatever, right? Yeah, they had like barbecue chicken and Kool-Aid with like their slaves. Like, no, that's not what happened or whatever. Which, by the way, that was the actual a book somebody wrote or whatever during the after the war, Civil War, in South Carolina or North Carolina. There was a library that had a lot of books that would like that was written by Confederate soldiers that would try to debunk a lot of the stuff. But guess what? You don't learn that in history class.
Yeah. Well, the one thing that I always told my sons, and I still swear by this, that if I want you to vote, but I want you to be very, very smart when you vote, and make sure that you vote on the truth, not on a belief that you don't know anything about. And one of the things I'm very, very proud of my youngest son, who is going to be 22 this July, is that he and I will sit there with the ballot initiatives and we'll read through them and we'll discuss them. And there's times that we vote different ways. There's other times that, yeah, I'm very proud of him because I'll say, I don't know much about this. He'll find out the information about it, because he's much better on a computer than I am. But he'll find the information if we're unclear, and we can make educated guesses. And that's one of the things, what, like you were saying about people who sometimes grow up prejudiced. That's what they learned. And I think that if we had people who studied more about the truth instead of what they're taught, because you can be taught anything. You can't change true history.
Yeah.
History's history. If it happened, it happened. You can't, it is what it is. We're smarter. We're more industrious. We're better prepared for things than they were back in the 1900s. But you're right. They were there. They used what they used. I'm a
And
huge
what's scary,
fan.
by
I'm
the
a
way,
huge fan of Theodore Roosevelt. I'm a huge fan. He's one of my idols. And I know that people are wanting to take statues down of him. And I'm like, excuse me? You know what? How much good he did?
yeah,
For
I will say
women's
for him,
suffrage.
by the way, he Theodore Roosevelt or whatever. I'm not in favor of taking down statues of like presidents or whatever because they are like they were presidents or whatever, so they deserve it no matter what they did, unless it's Ronald Reagan and Richard Nixon taking us off the gold standard in the war on drugs. Look at that. Look how that's led to our country now. But um, the reason why I like him a lot is the reason we have a lot of the national parks is because
Mhm.
of him or whatever.
Yep. He
And the
started that.
reason we have a lot of the museums in Washington where it's like filled up with a lot of the artifacts that we have in there is because of him. Whatever. And that guy is so strange too. He went down to the Amazon and almost died down there. He's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
exploring the Amazon.
After
Like,
after he was done with the office, he went and he caught malaria and he damn near died from malaria. And then he came back and re-ran and created the Bull Moose Party, and he re-ran. One of the things that I love is that he was the one thing that he loved his father, loved, idolized his father, but he could not stand that his father paid someone to fight for him in the Civil War. And so he was very, if there was a war that had to be fought, he wanted it fought. And one of his sons died in World War One
yeah.
as a pilot. And he said, my son is a hero. He died for what he needed to do. I
And
think,
that war, by the way, was oh my gosh. If you ever, I don't know if you've gone like really, really in depth with that, but oh man, that's a war. War
World
One
War
is
One is just confusing, I think, in a lot of ways. There was so much confusion in World War One, and World War Two. People, when you talk about World War Two, it's kind of laid out. You had the good and the bad. There's just,
mhm,
and then you had Russia, which was bad, but on the side of good,
yeah, which is
because
weird
be,
concept there.
because the two leaders couldn't come together. Hitler and Stalin couldn't come together, and if they would have been able to come together, look, that war would have turned out different. I'm telling you right now, that war would
Yeah.
have turned out way different.
I would
So,
say what would most likely happen is that what we would have to deal with is the like if Hitler never actually pushed towards the
Russia.
Soviet Union, yeah, um, and they would have just focused all their forces on the West, it would have been really, really, really hard, um, or whatever. And not to toot America's horn, yeah, the whole nuclear thing, yes, that's bad. I will say though, when we did drop that, it did shut the entire world up or whatever, and it made very, very clear that hey, we have this or whatever, and we can end this war like that if we really want it or whatever. So I feel like that also really helped push the end of the war. But another big thing is that um, heck, London, France, and everywhere else would be speaking German if we didn't come step in. I
Oh
just
yeah,
want to put that out there.
definitely London. London folded like a cheap suit.
Hmm.
It's just what it
Which,
is. It's
by
it's
the
what
way,
it is.
World War One, it's actually one of the most kind of undocumented wars because there's so much still like we uncover. There's
Yeah.
a movie out there called I think it's called All Quiet on the Western Front
Hmm.
or whatever. really good movie. I recommend it. It's the perfect anti-war movie or whatever, because a lot of the war movies now that come out, it's like, oh, this glorious like badass or whatever. Like he does this and now he goes off and makes a business and like back home. Nah, it's none of that. It's like you follow this one character, boom, that character goes, but then you follow this one main character or whatever. And just to see the way things go, it's beautiful.
You know what's my son and I, we ended up watching a movie from the German side of it. There was a movie out there from the German side of it, and
it may be All Quiet on Western Front.
It could have been. I can't remember. But hey, Jamari, let's get back to Ascension hosting real quick. How do people get a hold of you, my friend?
Well, they can either call me or they can email me. I'm always available to both.
972-878-8557. Okay.
Yep.
So once again, 972-878-8577. And then Jamari, 8577. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Jamari, which is JAMARRI at ascensionhostings.com. So both of those will be tagged on this. I would like to give you the last word. Tell us a little bit about what we need to know about Jamari Jones and Ascension Hosting.
Well, Ascension Hosting is more than a hosting company, so always remember that. But also about me is that I'm a huge technocrat. I love technology. I want to create 7 tech companies and become the world's richest man and do a whole bunch of like big things for the entire planet in terms of technology. But the one thing I will do, I won't do, is try and replace all humans with robots when it comes to business or whatever, because this is what was said in a meeting yesterday I was in. I've seen robots. Sure, robots can do like clean a house, but they can't give it a human touch, whatever, or they can't give it human care. Sure, maybe one day I'll have it where the most dangerous and minuscule tasks are being done by robots, but I'm never going to replace a whole like staff of humans with robots, whatever.
Well, that's good to hear, because I've watched all those robot movies and they scare the hell out of me. So when they take over the world, but Jamari Jones from Ascension Hosting, Ascension Hosting, I appreciate your time. You can once again get a hold of him at 972-878-8577, 972-878-8577, or Jamari at ascensionhostings.com. And you can go to his website, ascensionhostings.com, and check it out. He is also a community pay it forward fundraising giving partner, which means anytime that you hire Jamari and Ascension, you also help by someone who has asked us for help. So check him out there. Jamari,
you can also reach me on LinkedIn too, by the way.
Oh,
LinkedIn, Facebook Messenger.
Yep.
So you can always reach me.
Find him everywhere. So, but Jamari, thank you very much, my friend. You did a great job. Look forward to working with you for a long, long time.
You too.
So that was Jamari Jones with Ascension Hosting. Like I said, look, the kid talks older than 20. He talks a lot different than any 20-year-old that I know, and I know a couple of them. I know a 22-year-old, and very proud of that young man because of the way he talks. And Jamari kind of resembles the way that he talks. It sounds to me like he studies. He definitely has an opinion on many things. And look, regardless of what your opinion is, it's not a crime to have one. As a small business owner, we're not allowed to, talk about our opinions because it could ruin us. So he was very brave when he brought that up. But, truth is, it's not a crime to have them. And the sooner that we all understand that, the sooner that we all accept that, I think the better off we are. Hey, everybody, that's it for community IMpACT this week. Please remember Monday, Memorial Day. Again, Memorial Day started as Decoration Day in between 66 and 68. Okay. I'm going to go what they say off this paper, but I'm going to give you my feelings on it. It started in between 66 and 68. Could have started up down south. It could have started up north. We don't know. The one thing I do know is that in 1866, a group of women visited a cemetery to decorate the graves of the Confederate soldiers who had fallen in the Battle of Shiloh. Nearby were the graves of Union soldiers, neglected because they were the enemy. Disturbed. It's a word. I know because I said it. Disturbed by the sight of the bare graves, the women placed some of their flowers on those graves as well. That's classy. Just because someone doesn't believe in the same things you do, it doesn't make them any different. You can always get a hold of me by contacting me on my card, or you can scan this little guy up here and it'll get you to me. Go to communitypayupforward.us and get a hold of me. And go to the contact button and it'll get a hold of me. Please, everyone, make sure that you take care of each other because we're all we got. Please remember, if you're not helping someone, you're hurting everyone. No one needs to go it alone. When we all come together, look, take care of each other, all right? Happy Memorial Day to all you veterans that are out there that are still with us, that have lost somebody. We know that this day is very, very tough on you. If you need help, please contact somebody. If you need to contact us, we can try to find the right people to talk to. We know a couple people who are more than willing to call you that have been in the same situation. If not, if this is a very tough day to you, please remember 988. That's the Suicide Crisis Lifeline. 988. Text, dial, call. 988. Please remember that, look, no matter how softly you walk, you'll always leave footprints. We will see you on Monday for Footprints Forward at the normal time. It's a holiday, but we're still making sure that everybody knows that, you know what, we're there. So, yeah, we will see you on Monday. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Where did it go? I think I just screwed it up. So let me try this again. Ha!